Thank you for tuning in. My name is Darren Paltrowitz. I am joined by Scott Waldman, who I'm going to introduce in a very short while here. But thank you to the Long Beach Public Library for all the great work that they do, for having us, for having you. And this is a panel about Long Beach's music scene, Long Island's music scene, and hoping to uncover the past, the present, and the future of what's going on here. Now, Scott Waldman, who has joined us, is a person that I've known on and off for about 20-ish years. Do I have that correct, Scott?
100% correct. In fact, 2 separate centuries.
2 separate centuries. Scott Waldman is not only an incredible artist manager in the music industry, not only a great musician in his own right, who has been on a Sony record label, and I am not reading cue cards, let that stand for the record. He grew up in Lido Beach and had a band called what, Scott?
We Are Groove Animals.
And?
Prior to that or before?
After that. I said Lido Beach.
I can go in a sequential order there. So the reason I know you is because of We Are Groove Animals, because Jeff Tobias played bass of East Meadow fame.
Yes.
And then I played in bands in college as well, but I actually made a career out of it with a band called The City Drive on Columbia and Lido Beach after that. So,
a band called Lido.
And my mom is in the corner right now, so that means I made it, and so is David.
Exactly. So there's not many people that I could interview for this series that had a band called Lido Beach or a band named after the town that they grew up in. And what was it that made you name the band Lido Beach? Did you love the town and the upbringing that much?
I love it more now that I don't live there, if that makes sense. But I mean, it's a really great place to grow up, you know, about an hour from New York City, a 3-minute walk to the beach, and Gino's Pizza is awesome, even though that's Long Beach, but I'll let it slide. But I feel that Long Beach just got a lot more public love than both Lido and Point Lookout, and I'm not cool with that. So I just wanted to, you know, represent Lido because aside from a Marvell and a golf course, there's some good people too.
And you are not the only musician who's been signed from Lido Beach. Rick Rubin, the producer Rick Rubin.
He's done better than everyone on Long Island with the exception of Billy Joel combined. So it's pretty amazing. Rick Rubin apparently grew up down the block from me, but I hadn't lived there yet.
Something that I learned from work is Tekashi 6ix9ine was living in Lido Beach
and
before he went to prison.
Lil Peep, Long Beach. Yeah, a lot of people, and Joan Jett lived in Long Beach and
still does. I've seen her on the block a few times.
There you go. I worked at Associated Supermarket, and the highlight of that job was one day I was the cashier for Joan Jett. So it's pretty sweet.
I think the singer of Typo Negative at the time of his passing lived in Lido Beach. You ever hear that?
Lido Beach is a place where people go to die. Awesome.
Not careers. No. Careers do not die here. So
careers rise.
I mean, something that was surprising to me, a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewing the singer of Blue Oyster Cult, and you make this the small talk of where you're calling from, where you're dialing in from, blah, 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 blah. Long Beach. Oh, we filmed our last 3 music videos there. Well, apparently the last 3 music videos of Blue Oyster Cult were filmed at the high school in Long Beach.
Really?
Yeah.
I know the Beastie Boys filmed one of their first videos actually on Long Beach. So things happen. I mean, it's beautiful scenery. And what was that movie with City by the Sea, Robert De Niro and James Franco? It took place in Long Beach, but they went to scout it and it was too nice. So they filmed it in Jersey.
Yeah, Asbury Park, my wife has told me that's where it is. Yep. And the list kind of goes on and on. Like, I'm still waiting to confirm this. I heard that the singer of Warlock, the German metal band, Doro Pesch, I've heard she lives in Long Beach. I don't think you've ever heard of that one.
I can neither confirm or deny that rumor.
But as time goes on, as the more and more people I'm learning that are here, that were here and all that. But one thing I don't know about you, did you ever play a live gig in Long Beach or Lido Beach?
Long Beach High School was actually We Are Groove Animals' second gig. Our first one was at Ground Zero in Belmore, which was named such before the tragic 9/11. 2 years later when we played there in 1999. But in Long Beach proper, you know, a lot of the venues were more for cover bands. And we played shows all over Long Island, but never Long Beach except for the high school. And that was for a benefit. There was a kid a year younger than me in my high school named Justin Pettit, who had colon cancer, and he sadly passed away. And we did a benefit concert for him and his family. And that was our second show ever. So I could say I played technically in Lido because Long Beach High School is in Lido.
Did you ever go to a concert? And again, this is something I don't know about you. Did you ever go to a concert at the Malibu Beach Club?
I went to a teen night there, and I went to a million bar mitzvahs there, but no, I never. So I did go see Newfound Glory play in Island Park, and the bar changed its name so many times it was probably called Malibu at some point, but it was in Island Park across the street from the billiards place, and you didn't often
Industry is that?
Sorry?
Was that called Industry?
It might have been at some point. I think they changed their name every time they lost their liquor license. So that's what happened there. So I don't know, but it was Newfound Glory, and they were opening for Less Than Jake, who at the time was bigger than Newfound Glory, and it was just a really cool show. But bands didn't really tour Long Beach unless they were like a Celtic band.
Black 47, is that who we're talking about?
Molly Malone.
St. Patty's Day, yeah. Well, the reason I'm going there is I've been doing some reading about the Malibu Beach Club, and all these world famous all-time biggest bands ever have played there. Is that something that you've ever read about?
I think a lot of the punk rock bands used to play there back in the day, and some I guess bands that would now be considered like classic rock in like the 70s and 80s, I believe. But
70s, 80s, 90s, even into the 2000s. Like, for example, U2, I think their second or third.
I knew that.
In the
yeah.
States.
And I think Sam Kinison performed there too.
That one I didn't know.
But growing up in high school, we didn't, at least I didn't know about it. I didn't know of any shows really there. And then by the time I graduated high school, I haven't lived in New York since 99. So I'll take your word for it.
I know the Police played there with Sting.
That's
Nine
cool.
Inch Nails played at Malibu Beach Club. Who else have I seen? So 9 Inch Nails did. I don't know if it's once or twice, but I'm pretty sure Smashing Pumpkins did. The Who did. I've heard
are these like before they all got huge? Like I know that the U2 was before they blew up, but was it like Smashing Pumpkins like around like Siamese Dream, like Melancholy, or like Gish or before?
I think it's Siamese Dream, but I've also read that Smashing Pumpkins played in Island Park at that place, maybe where you saw Newfound Glory.
Wow. Well, maybe I would have had a better high school experience had I known that.
Well, what I'm getting at is you grow up like half a mile. Is that safe to say from Malibu Beach Club? A mile?
I would say I would do it in terms of car drive. And I would say Malibu Beach Club would be a 5-6 minute drive. Yeah,
not the city drive.
Not the city drive, and nor the people in it.
Nor the people. But it's pretty, this is the theme that comes up to me that's pretty interesting over and over and over again. All this rock history happened on Long Island, yet nobody really can authenticate the whole cumulative story of the whole thing. Like, have you ever heard about the Action House music venue in Island Park?
No.
The Action House, it had different names, but Pink Floyd played there, The Doors, Zappa, The Grateful Dead, in Island Park.
There's quite a music. I know that so many musicians have come from all across Long Island, but as far as like a local scene growing up, there really wasn't much of one. Deja One in Mineola was a place that I used to go to a lot to see ska shows, punk shows, hardcore shows, and bands from, across the world would play there. And it was literally just like a VFW.
And when you were coming of age in Long Beach, now I know that you left to go to University of Michigan, was it, for your undergrad? And then ultimately you wound up in LA. But What were some of the cool spots in Long Beach when you were growing up besides, say, Geno's?
Oh, then Marvell, literally a cool spot.
I see what you did there.
Prior to it getting burnt down, Stephen's Pasta was my favorite restaurant. I know they had a Redux and they're back, and I went, and hopefully I'll get to go again and have another taste. I mean, a lot of kids get fake IDs young, so they go to bars in the West End. I couldn't have passed for 21 when I was 21. So it's like, I didn't really do that. As soon as I was able to get on the N15 bus, the big thing was going to Roosevelt Field Mall and just walking around the food court. That was a big deal for us.
Makes sense to me. So something that you hearkened to before we started recording was how Long Beach has essentially changed. That now it's a little more metropolitan than it was when you were growing up. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, why did you get out of here? Nothing like that. But how have you noticed that it's changed in general?
Well, the people that are tuning in now weren't privy to our pre-conversation, so I'll say it quickly. It's gotten way more right-wing, Long Beach. The example I used is when in '96, when Clinton was running against Dole, I didn't really see too much Dole paraphernalia. It was a pretty blue town, and I left. I didn't leave because I knew the writing was on the wall and it was become Trump country, but I know that there's a lot more MAGA stuff there now, and I don't like that.
Yeah, without editorializing too much, it was surprising to see that going on in the Stop and Shop parking lot a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, I'll
editorialize it.
Well, hey, Long Beach Library, who's thankfully kindly putting this on, and it's not Long Beach, California, it's Long Beach, New York, for the record. Long Beach, California is great and all, but it's not Long Beach.
No, I as someone who lives 45 minutes from Long Beach, California, my heart is in the 11561.
Well said. Well said. I was a guest in that other city last year, and it was wonderful. And Adam Bush, who I think you know as well, he lives out there.
That name sounds familiar, but
he was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then he's in the band Common Rotation. It's all the 6 Degrees of Jeff Tobias kicking in. But
well, Buffy is my wife Kelly's favorite show. So
well, now I know that.
No, it's not mine.
Hey, it could be worse. But
it could be.
The Long Beach Library, I believe it was about last year, maybe say a year and a half ago, they had an event where this local resident wrote a book about basically the Ramones, and they presented that event there, which was fantastic, which is really cool to see a workshop about one of the greatest bands ever, that I will editorialize about the Ramones, presented at your public library. Was there anything like that growing up with the library?
I mean, I told everyone before this started that I had many a group project at the library. I spent days in elementary school, middle school, and high school there. It was a great library. And in addition, Long Beach High School's library was surprisingly good at the time. I can't speak for it now, but.
Did it have a TV studio when you were growing up there? That's where Blue Oyster Cult made their music videos.
If it did, they didn't tell me about it, because I just knew that they had CDs that you could take out, and obviously books. And this is way before audiobooks became a trend. So actual real brick and mortar books. It's crazy.
And I think I told you this a year and a half ago that the band teacher at Long Beach High School had kind of a flyer about all the prominent students.
Middle school. Yeah, so basically, Facebook you see a lot. And I'm actually Facebook friends with both my middle school chorus teacher, Mr. Moskoff, shout out to him, actually the first time that I was in a chorus in some official capacity, and Mr. Kaplan, who was my high school chorus teacher. But Mr. Moskoff my name was on his list of notable clients, and it was flattering when you sent that to me, and I told him, thank you. I mean, I give him permission to use it.
Well, it cracked me up because it was you and it was Mike Portnoy, the former drummer of Dream Theater, who was in
and Avenged Sevenfold. Yeah, he's way more successful than I am, but you know what? Relative. If my name got Mr. Moskoff one student.
Well, so that harkens back to the fact that I think that you have a great career in the music business. You just sold yourself short there a little bit, but you've found your own niche. You work with great artists. You yourself are an artist, and you do still do that. That was a great cover of Save the Best for Last that you recently did by Vanessa Williams. But growing up, did you feel that it was possible to work in the music business coming out of Long Beach? Because again, when a lot of these people I've mentioned, they weren't so prominent in that like 97 to 2000 period.
I never thought about working behind the scenes in music until years after I really was doing it full time. That happened accidentally, but I don't think proximity to any major city like gave me the cojones to do it. When I decided to be a full-time musician and move to LA, that was like my sophomore year in college. I said, I'm going to move to LA and I'm going to do it. And that's to be a performer. As far as the business end, I just had a lot of experience being an artist. I knew what I liked. I made a lot of contacts, and I thought, you know what, maybe this could be a good thing to pivot into. And I started completely by myself. And now I'm talking to you.
Now you're talking to me and the many thousands upon thousands of people listening.
Watching. And everyone in the Zoom, I just want you to know I love y'all. This is great. And it's going to be public soon.
Well, I grew up kind of in Belmore thinking, well, I don't know who's made it out of here. And then as I was growing up, Glassjaw, who I don't know if any of them live in Long Beach anymore, but people related to Glassjaw kind of do live around here. The guy who produced a lot of the vocals for Daryl's stuff, who, you know, TJ, he lives here. But I didn't have an artistic high school upbringing. It wasn't until after I got out of high school where I started noticing all these people who were writing for TV and doing music, and they all went, oh yeah, we hated Belmore JFK. No one supported us as artists. And then you pull them all together and you realize how many great artistic oriented people that happened with. Did anybody you went to high school with wind up also in the arts?
Yeah, the very first band that I saw that wasn't like The Who was this band called Cypher. And they were all Long Beach high school kids that were 2 years older than I was. And Mo Mitchell, who's the singer, and the band completely changed styles, but Mo Mitchell, they made music for quite a while. And actually, their drummer, Danny Bobbis, taught at Long Beach High School and sadly passed away abroad in a surfing accident. So that was like the band that when I was in high school, I was just like, wow, these are kids with like just as many like contacts as me, and they're playing shows. Why don't I do it?
I recently learned that the rapper MF Doom was from Long Beach. Did you know that one?
I knew that vaguely, but the one that I always think now is Lil Peep.
Yeah, that was a huge news story. And I have to admit, I didn't know who Lil Peep was while he was alive. And then I saw that there was the big funeral at the Allegria, which had Good Charlotte doing a video tribute and all that. Was he on your radar, or am I just old?
No, I mean, like you and I obviously love 90s power pop and the band Superdrag and bands of that ilk.
Still do.
And no, still do. I do too. Superdrag's top 10 band of all time for me, and probably top 1 for you. And so I knew Lil Peep, but I'm 39. It's not my thing. But I knew that he was up and coming, and he was mentioned in the same breath as Post Malone a lot. Mm-hmm. And kind of setting up for that kind of career. And it's a tragedy.
Yeah, but it just adds on to what an impact Long Beach has globally, continues to have globally, and it's kind of this undiscovered gem.
Well, I want to expand on that because I felt that Long Beach High School really was supportive towards the arts, every kind of art, the visual arts, musical theater. For some reason, like every other high school, like marching band isn't cool. It's cool in Long Beach. That makes no sense to me, but it was. It was like the cool thing to do. And okay. But as far as just guitar players and musicians, there were so many. When I started playing guitar in 8th grade, I felt that more people played than didn't. And so when I went to the University of Michigan, I thought, oh my God, I'm just going to take my guitar out in the dorms and be able to jam and do drum circles with people. And like literally like 2 other people in my entire dorm played, one of which ended up becoming my best friend. So yeah, there was a better musical community at Long Beach High School than Alice Lloyd Hall in Ann Arbor.
Were you at the University of Michigan the same time the band Tally Hall was?
I'm a few years older than them, but I do love Tally Hall, and we've talked about this. They were up and coming. A lot of them were from the state of Michigan, so they already had some notoriety there. But the band that was the Ann Arbor band at the time, and are we allowed to say bad words here or no?
Do we get a thumbs up? Okay.
Okay, well, there was a band called Donkey Punch from Ann Arbor that was doing really well at the time.
Yeah.
They're a ska punk band, and that word is probably canceled by now, but yeah, that was the band.
Now I know. I'm learning this history and I'm piecing it all together. Do you often run into Long Island people out there in Los Angeles?
Well, I don't run into anyone now because I'm living in the COVID world, but prior to that, yes. Yeah. I would run into most of the people that I would run into were, because Michigan is such a big alumni base, there's that, but there were some people from my hometown and people that I knew from, assorted Long Island stuff like BBYO or Model Congress or things like that I would run into. But none of my friends out here are from Long Beach, none of them. So,
well, I've just heard a lot of, well, fair, true. but I've heard a lot of buzzwords like Model Congress and marching band. So you kind of made it out.
I did to some extent, because like Long Beach is the kind of city, because it's such a great place to grow up. Again, hindsight, but a lot of people are lifers. People who live there sometimes have generations of family that live there, and they don't want to leave. In fact, they don't even want to leave to go anywhere. Like Roosevelt Field's a hike. And so I just wanted to get out of my hometown, kind of like the typical pop punk song when I went to school in Michigan. And for music, I knew that the 3 major hubs were New York City, Nashville, and LA. And obviously you can make a career out of it in Biloxi, but those you're more likely to. And I did not want to move back home because I knew that if I did that, I wouldn't really be able to give it my undivided as far as career-wise, because I would have my family, which is great, and I would have my friends, and I would have comforts. Right. And when I moved to LA, I had $3,000 and I knew 2 people. And so it's like with school, it can come naturally. You can learn a math formula and you can take a test and you can get an A, but that's not going to pay your bills. So I was doing lots and lots of jobs, auditioning for lots and lots of bands, and probably worked harder in the first year I moved to LA than all the years, the 22 years before that combined.
Wow. Well, putting you on the spot here, what are you working on right now that we should be listening to, following, paying attention to, etc.?
Well, you happen to be on my radio show, Waldman's Words, on Adobe Radio. That airs every single Tuesday at 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock your time. And then it gets uploaded as a podcast on, Apple or any podcast app or the Adobe website. So that's something that is a regular thing that I do every Tuesday. And if you want to just see the artists I manage, just go to waldmgmt.com and there's a plethora.
And the Waldman's Words column?
Well, yeah, you're, in my opinion, and I'll give you a compliment / shout out, you're a way more prolific writer than I am, and you have way more experience, and you're great. I freelance for Alternative Press, for Substream, and for Loudwire, and I get to, for Substream, I can write about literally anything I want, which is why our Superdrug article existed. And for Alt Press, I pitch, or I get pitch stuff, and same with Loudwire.
And to your credit, you had a great interview with Tommy Lee from Motley Crue, where you talked about stuff that I've never heard him talk about.
Can you tell me what those stuff that I talked about would?
that stuff is you got him to talk about his favorite hip hop songs of all time. And of course, it had the Scott Waldman style puns, pop culture references.
I've been making dad jokes since before I was a dad, so you might as well.
Well said. So is the writing kind of on hold at the moment, or are you just, when you feel inspiration, that's what you do?
No, it's in fact, I would say it's the opposite of on hold, because I have a weekly column on Substream. So literally every single Tuesday, the same day as Waldman's Words, it goes up. Alt Press, I could say this here. I got to interview Dexter and Noodles from The Offspring.
Wow.
I think that they throw me, you know, you're the 39-year-old dude, you'll probably like The Offspring, and you've interviewed people before, and you're not going to make us look bad. So here, interview them. So I interviewed them a few days ago, and that interview will be a video interview that goes up on their site, on the Alt Press site. I'm assuming early next week, but to be honest with you, it might be up right now. So that's Alt Press. They come to me with ideas, or I come to them, and that happens there. Loudwire has stalled because they're trying to focus more on their staff than the freelance people. But Substream is literally every single week there's a new article. So I read a lot. Sorry?
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Throwing the compliments right there. Dexter from The Offspring, I had the pleasure of interviewing too. I was surprised by how nice he was, how laid back, pleasant. You know, artists, tell me if you agree with this one. When you interview artists at that high of a level, they're either the nicest human beings you've ever encountered, or there's just a laundry list of demands of what you can and can't talk about, and it's impossible. It's one or the other every time.
No. There's literally nothing in between. It's pretty bipolar. It's sad, but sometimes the biggest artists in the world are the ones that are just really affable and kind and make you feel like the most important person in the room, which is why they are how they are. And sometimes they are the biggest divas ever. So sometimes meeting your idols is not fun, and I'm not going to out anyone. But
Tommy Lee, who we were talking about, for me,
he was so cool.
Nice so as cool. Could be. He'll answer anything with a dude, bro, awesome. And it works, right?
I had a Zoom this was before, because I work in this office in our house, full disclosure. And prior to COVID, my assistant would come by and we'd work in here. And then after COVID, I felt kind of weird working in this office without her. I was just kind of in memoriam, even though I talked to her every day. So I would work in the bedroom. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally sitting on my bed with my laptop and with like a fold out thing to put my laptop on, much like this, and asking Tommy Lee questions about Limp Bizkit. Like what? So, I mean, please correct me, but would you say, like, of all time, like Motley Crue is probably one of the top like 30 biggest bands of all time, like something crazy like that, or maybe even more, like 20 or 15, like a stupidly high number. And I'm literally just talking to him about new metal. It's like,
but not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, Doobie Brothers just got in, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, it's just
Tupac got in first, so.
Sorry?
Tupac got in first.
I mean, it's just when you talk about the Grammys or you talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, yes, you know, it's political, but it's not going to please everyone. I mean, Green Day got in literally exactly at the year that was supposed to, but, you know, like, hopefully Rancid will follow suit, you know? We'll see.
Exactly.
I don't see it happening right now. So that's just it.
Whatever it is, it's good to know that the bands that you and I were shaped by are still good in many cases.
I think Weezer will get there. I think they're going to get in it. I really do. That's right. I think Weezer will get in. I think Foo Fighters will get in just because of the power of Grohl.
The power of Grohl.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Is Soundgarden in yet?
I don't think they got in yet.
See that, like stuff like that, like Nine Inch Nails just got in. So it's like, we'll see.
We're waiting.
Maybe little people get in before these people. I don't know.
Well, pulling the curtain back, do we have any questions that we have to answer? Is there anything that we missed here?
Are you asking me? Or are you asking
I'm asking the
millions of people in the Zoom? What?
The millions upon millions who are watching on pay-per-view right now.
Yeah, along with Survivor Series 93. Well, I would say the library staff, and then I mean, I know this is going to go up, but shout out to David Gordon, Fran Waldman, and the Shalom family for tuning into this right now. So.
And you just made a 1993 Survivor Series reference. Do you know about the pro wrestling history of Long Beach? I've just learned this recently.
I don't, and I'm more interested in learning that than anything music related. So please.
Do you know that Bret the Hitman Hart's parents met in Long Beach?
I did know that.
So you knew that. Do you know that they ran a few WWF shows at Long Beach High School?
I did not know that, and I'm jealous. When? Before our time?
Oh, yeah, early 80s, late 70s, okay. When wrestling could
that.
still be at high schools.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. I did wrestle, but that was like wearing a singlet and weighing 98 pounds and not being able to hit a chair on someone's head. So it was different.
There are a few pro wrestlers who've either lived in Long Beach or hang out in Long Beach. That's one of the weird.
Doesn't Zack Ryder like live in Long Beach? Or
he was living in the building next door to here.
There you go.
Yeah. Max Caster, who's now on TV, he's on AEW. I've seen him on the boardwalk. He's made some of his music videos around here. Do you know about Max Caster?
I don't. I'll be honest with you. When I was a kid, my bar mitzvah theme was wrestling, so I was really into it.
Was it Waldmania?
No, it was Scott's Royal Rumble. And it was a big part of my life. And now I'm way more interested in the heels and the stories as an older person. Like the matches don't entertain me as much. Granted, there's some insane athleticism, but I'm more into the stories.
I am 100% the same. Whenever you can see a heel, a bad guy, how do you, for the people who don't like wrestling and find it repulsive because they don't know the history of it, the heel, you call it the bad guy, the villain.
You want me to explain it?
Please do.
Okay, so basically, when it was Hulk Hogan versus Slaughter, that was WrestleMania 7, that was 91, right?
That was 7 and 91.
Okay, so perfect example of the good guy and the heel. Persian Gulf War is happening. Hulk Hogan, Captain America, pretty much like a superhero. Yeah. Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Every little boy and all my friends obsessed with him. Sergeant Slaughter, formerly Captain America, literally a G.I. Joe character. They thought, and this could have been R.I.P. Pat Patterson's idea, but they thought that a really good way to get the crowd to hate him, because that makes the story richer, would be, I love that I'm talking about this more than music, but would be,
it works.
No, it flowed.
Rock and wrestling connection. Yes.
That's damn right, Cyndi Lauper. And so they made him an Iraqi sympathizer.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I'm surprised he wasn't killed. Because
there were threats on his life.
But he didn't die, and he didn't get killed. And then Hacksaw Jim Duggan helped him get his country back. But
yes,
it was like the ultimate bad guy story. And let's just say there is no war involved. There were just people that were just despicable humans who would lie, cheat, and steal and do stuff. But the mid 90s and the late 90s kind of shifted, where the Hulk Hogan, Captain America, good guy character would be the kind of guy that's booed. And then the bad guys, the heels, would be the ones that people really liked. And so as I got older, I liked them more because they were way more interesting.
And my experience as somebody who interviews a lot of wrestlers, I taped one this morning with Taz. Do you remember him?
Yeah, he ECW, WWF, and commentator.
Lives in Massapequa, so it all comes back to all the Long Island stuff right there. Every bad guy heel wrestler I've ever interviewed, except for one, has been the nicest person on earth, and it's the good guys. They're making the demands. And
who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, so I mean, isn't that interesting that most of the metal bands and the punk bands that we grew up really liking, generally the gruffer the exterior, the nicer the human beings behind the scenes.
They're gentle souls.
Tom Araya from Slayer is a relaxed guy.
relaxing, so sweet.
There you go. So if we recap
We got a
everything.
question from Janine.
Oh, okay. Janine, any advice?
Stop talking about wrestling. No. Yeah. Any advice for young musicians in Long Beach or Long Island who want to break out and get signed, etc.? Yes. Make quality music. Have your recordings be even better, the most quality recordings possible, because everyone wants to get signed. Everyone wants to be in a big band, but no one wants to do the work. So as far as recordings, make sure, especially now, because it's 2020 and it's 2021 tomorrow, I could record something that sounds freaking awesome on this computer. There's no barrier to entry anymore. But you have your whole life to release your first album. Why not go out with guns blazing in the beginning and have the best material possible and show it to friends, show it online, show it privately before you put it out, because you only get one chance, like I said, to make a first impression. Build a live following, which is impossible now, but it won't be when we can get back to that. And just have your own voice, and then you'll have more people who want to follow you on social media. But what I hear a lot as an artist manager are people who have very unrealistic expectations. And so what you need to do is realize that it is a war out there, but you're better prepared with good songs, good recordings, and a good live show. So that's my question answered, Janine. I hope that was okay.
I would tack on to that, because I can't top a great artist manager's advice very much, except to say with any goal that you have in general, I find that if you work backwards and break everything into smaller steps, you can get there. So, you know, the person who says, I want to lose 50 pounds, and then they crash diet, that doesn't work. But if you go, well, if I lose a pound a week for the next 50 weeks, I can do that. Well, how would I lose a pound a week? Well, if you want to do that for music and you say, I want to earn a living doing this, well, where does the money come from? Okay, the money comes from here and here and here. Well, how do I work up to the point that I'm doing this many gigs? Well, pending what Scott said, how many albums, etc. If you break everything down to smaller steps, along the way, if you're doing great work, the right team comes into place.
And they will likely find you. And I also just want to say that unlike being in the NBA, you know, usually the best basketball players are the ones who, you know, get the most money and the most notoriety. That's not how it is in music.
Right.
The best guitar players in the world, you might see playing outside your subway on the N train. It's because they either didn't market themselves well, or they just didn't have the right songs, or they didn't record, or what have you. It's all about, you know, your hustle, your drive, and your focus. And if you're in a band with a bunch of like-minded people, you definitely will succeed a lot more than someone with a Negative Nancy in it.
Oh, has there ever been a band called Negative Nancy?
We'll start one now.
Okay. That sounds prominent and promising to me. So, and then packing on with all that, who was the first client that you had as a manager where it was actually paying off?
Well, I would definitely say that it didn't pay off, but it was an accident. So at the time when I started, it was about 5 years ago. And when my old band came home from tour, I would teach a lot of guitar lessons. And one of my former students reached out to me and said, hey, Scott, I recorded some music and I'm playing shows. I'd love your opinion. And I honestly had no idea that that's something that she wanted to do. I literally play guitar with her at her bat mitzvah. Like, that was it. And I hadn't heard from her in a while. And she's like, I really respect your opinion. So I said, of course, but you can't unhear what I say. I'm not going to blow smoke up your butt. I'm going to tell you the real truth. And she's like, no. And I guess this could be a New York shout out. She's like, you're a New Yorker. You're going to be no BS. So her name, this is the first time I've said this publicly, her name, but she doesn't even exist as an artist anymore. So it was Relly. And it was just, I thought it was kind of just really smart piano pop music, kind of like Regina Spektor-y. And I heard it and I gave her a lot of advice she took that advice the next show, and then the show after that was sold out. So that's hard to do in LA because everyone in LA's dad is like Steven Spielberg or something. Like it's very jaded in that regard. And so I said to her, I said, you know, I'm essentially doing what a manager would do. Would you like me to manage you? That's literally how I started it. And a week later, after we worked together, she had done some things that I thought were not beneficial to a long-term future together. So I amicably parted ways, but I got more and more clients, and I quit my clock-in job. I was a part-time legal assistant in addition to teaching guitar, doing a lot of stuff. And I quit that job, and I've been full-time since.
And let it be known, let it be learned, hard work, good work ethic, being likable, being pleasant, it all adds up, and you can be like Scott Waldman as well. So Scott,
God help you.
Because I've taken up so much of your time here, I'll give you the floor and say any last words for the kids.
For all the kids in this room and all the kids, you know, watching this when it goes up, I just want to say thank you. Thank you especially to the public library. I love that I'm even affiliated with you in some form. It's just really cool. And I'm a huge fan of public libraries in general. In fact, before the pandemic, a lot of the time I would just go to the Los Angeles and the Santa Monica libraries and get audiobooks because I would fill up my car like twice a week driving, and I listen to music all day, every day. So it's nice to have an audiobook. So I just want you to know that you're a necessary quotient in America, and I appreciate you. And everyone listening and just caring in general, Darren is a really smart, likable, charming guy, and you're lucky if you're interviewed by him. So that's it.
Well, I remain
Thank you, Natasha.
I remain a Wald maniac. I think many, many people do. So thank you for your time. Thank you to the library for doing this. And Scott, hopefully we'll have you on the next one, and you'll help me interview some of the other folks participating.
I am more than happy to be a part of this. I appreciate you and your time, and just everyone, please stay safe, especially now. You're not invincible.
Well said. Thanks to all, and have a great night.
Bye.